Tonight, some good economic news in these uncertain times. We'll tell you the industry is allowing workers to take home more money.
There are sectors where wages are going up faster than inflation.
And which fields are being left behind. Caught in the chaos of war, the Palestinians offered scholarships from Canadian universities, but who can't get out of Gaza.
I'm sorry to lose such an opportunity, especially that is Canada.
As Israel launches deadly new strikes. Donald Trump celebrates his latest deal, thin on details.
We just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China.
Plus, the new warnings about AI-powered voice cloning scams.
Think the types of phishing scams that we have all seen, but more sophisticated because now you're going to get a phone call from somebody that sounds like somebody you know.
And a pickpocketer's paradise.
Within a year, I had like 3 phones stolen from me.
How to avoid being the target of cell phone snatchers at crowded summer festivals.
It's ridiculous, man. It's not cool.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. If you feel like you're working longer and paying more for the basics, you are not alone. But new numbers show Canadians are clawing their way back from runaway inflation. Average wages were up more than 4% year over year, while inflation increased just 1.7%. CTV's Andrew Johnson on the sectors with the largest gains.
Life right now for many Canadian families may be feeling something like this.
95% of your paycheck goes to rent, and the other 5% you gotta kind of like figure out what you're gonna do with it. So it's a lot of pasta these days.
But the numbers have been turning around. New average wages in a variety of industries were released today by Statistics Canada. Pay overall is up more than 4%. Let's take a closer look. If you work in information and culture, it's an industry that's paying 10% more than last year. These are jobs related to the movie industry, telecommunications, publishing, and content providing. Wages in real estate and rentals are up close to 10%. Finance and insurance wages rose 8%. Education is paying 7% more, and so is forestry and logging. At the other end of the spectrum, the average wage for people who work in utilities, think electric, gas, and water, is down close to 3%. Wages in retail down a bit as well, and in wholesale. The arts, entertainment, and recreation sector also did not keep pace with inflation. Matt Marple works in the restaurant industry.
Do you feel like you're getting ahead?
No. I tell my wife that, but yet she still pushes for a third baby.
One economist acknowledges Canadians clawing their way back against inflation may still feel priced out.
Folks are upset that prices are going up on things, regular, everyday purchases like food. They're upset that prices for rental or the price for purchase of houses has been going up and really hasn't been coming down all that much.
He also points out this trajectory of rising wages and economic growth we've seen over the past year or two is now in serious danger due to the Donald Trump tariff effect. And the near future is very much a question mark. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
The Liberal government's major projects bill is now law.
Is it your pleasure, honourable senators, to adopt the motion? Adopté.
Bill C-5 was passed by the Senate without amendments and has received royal assent, despite calls to include language respecting Indigenous rights. The legislation gives Ottawa the power to fast-track projects intended to boost the economy and blunt the impact of the trade war with the U.S. Opponents say it could rush projects without proper consultation. Speaking at an event today, U.S. President Donald Trump claimed the U.S. has signed an agreement with China.
Do you remember a few months ago, the press was saying, do you really have anybody of any interest? Well, we just signed with China yesterday, right? Just signed with China.
Trump did not elaborate, but a White House official says an agreement was reached with China about how to implement expediting rare earth shipments to the U.S. China has yet to comment. A Canadian has died in U.S. custody after being arrested in Florida by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents, also known as ICE. Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand posted that Canadian consular officials are urgently seeking more information from U.S. officials, while ICE says Johnny Noviello, a 49-year-old citizen of Canada, was found unresponsive in their custody, adding the cause of death is still under investigation. Iran's supreme leader warned the U.S. against any future attacks today. In a recorded message, the 86-year-old released his first public comment since the ceasefire was declared with Israel, saying the U.S. had, quote, exaggerated the impact of the strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities. A very different take at the Pentagon today.
There's been a lot of discussion about what happened and what didn't happen. Step back for a second. Because of decisive military action, President Trump created the conditions to end the war, decimating, choose your word, obliterating, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities.
The U.S. military also shared a test video showing what it looks like when a bunker-busting bomb hits a cave. This is the same type of weapon used in the strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Meanwhile, the deadly conflict continues in Gaza. At least 18 Palestinians were killed after an Israeli strike hit a street where witnesses say a crowd of people was getting bags of flour from a Palestinian police unit. Israeli forces have not commented on the strike, but have repeatedly struck Gaza police, considering them a branch of Hamas. Doctors and aid groups say Gazans are starving because Israel, which controls all access to Gaza, only lets in a trickle of food, and getting to it can be deadly.
It's a common term. It's a death trap. It's a slaughterhouse.
Doctors say almost daily they treat dozens wounded while trying to reach food distribution points. Human rights groups say as desperate Gazans rush for supplies, many have been shot at by Israeli troops. The UN says 410 people have been killed this month alone. The Israeli military says it does not fire on civilians at aid sites, but does acknowledge soldiers have targeted individuals who approach them or appear threatening. The bombing campaign has also destroyed a dozen universities in Gaza, and with it, the hopes and ambitions of young Palestinians. Some of them have been offered scholarships to study here in Canada, but as CTV's Heather Wright reports, they can't get here.
Twisted metal and debris. This is what it looks like in Gaza City after an Israeli airstrike this morning. It's near where 19-year-old Tawfiq Abed lives in a small room with nearly a dozen other people.
I'm displaced. My house is in dangerous area.
Abed dreams of being an engineer and has been offered a full scholarship to the University of Alberta. Trouble is, he's applied for a student visa but has received no response from the Canadian government.
I'm sorry to lose such an opportunity, especially that is Canada. That's my dream. That's what I'm looking for is coming through.
Abed is not the only one. According to a group of Canadian professors, there are roughly 70 Palestinian students stuck waiting. They are urging the government to move more quickly to help these students come here to study.
Germany's able to do it. France has been able to do it. They've provided safe passage for students. They've expedited visas. It is punitive, and there's no reason why we can't do the same in Canada.
In a statement, the Ministry of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship says the primary challenge continues to be the ability for people to exit Gaza. The statement also notes that biometrics, like photos and fingerprints, can only be completed after people leave Gaza, and that is the primary slowdown. Still, the group is asking the government to be more proactive, noting some of the applications, including biometrics, are complete.
We're not asking for them to skip the line. We're not asking for shortcuts. We're just asking for these students to be treated fairly so that they can come to Canada and study here in the great research programs that we have here.
According to the United Nations, all 12 universities in Gaza have been bombed and either destroyed or severely damaged. The group of professors say that's another reason for the government to more quickly look at these applications and give these students access to higher education. Omar.
Heather Wright in Toronto. Some international students caught in a legal battle between the Trump administration and Harvard University may be coming to Canada. A partnership between the University of Toronto's Monk School and the Harvard Kennedy School will help students who can't re-enter the U.S. because of visa restrictions complete their programs. Donald Trump has tried to cut off Harvard's enrollment of international students after the Ivy League school refused to accept policy changes from the White House. Trump says a deal with Harvard could come soon. A new Canadian snapshot is revealing why the problem of accessing primary care is getting worse for Canadian seniors and how that compares to other countries. Here's CTV's Scott Hurst.
Canada's healthcare system is under significant strain, in part due to an aging population, and getting access to primary care is increasingly more difficult.
Well, I'm like a lot of people that my family has a history of cancer in my situation, but there are people that I know that have family histories of other conditions you should be concerned about, and you don't have a chance to get a checkup.
Canada is falling behind some international partners. About 8% of Canadians 65 and up don't have access to a primary care provider. That's about 600,000 people, meaning more seniors are going without care compared to those in the US, UK, France, and Germany, to name a few. The report published by the Canadian Institute for Health Information also notes older Canadians are struggling to access mental health care when they need it.
Mental health care is really important for older adults. We found in our survey in 2024 that 1 in 4 older adults reported feeling isolated at least some of the time.
The report also shows timely access to primary care has been getting worse. Only about a quarter of seniors who have access to care can even get an appointment the same day or next. That number was much higher than in a previous survey less than a decade ago. Now, improving access is not an easy fix. Canada's population is rapidly aging and people are living longer. According to Stats Canada, seniors made up less than 1/5 of the population in 2023. By 2030, that number will swell to nearly a quarter. Scott Hurst, CTV News, Toronto.
The growing danger of deceptive AI cloning tools has made it easier for criminals to mimic voices of high-profile public figures. CTV's John Venivelli-Rao on how to safeguard against the new scam.
In Toronto, this is the city's inaugural Tech Week, with all sorts of events showcasing the area as a global tech hub. And it's where the country's Minister for Artificial Intelligence announced more than $2 million aimed at helping small businesses in Southern Ontario adapt to using AI and boost productivity.
AI is not just a tool, it's a revolution. We know this. We are in a Gutenberg moment here.
But AI Minister Evan Solomon also meeting with AI pioneer Jeffrey Hinton, who has raised concerns about the safety of the tech, pushing for more government regulation. This as the Anti-Fraud Center issued a warning this week about a spike of bad actors using AI, including voice cloning, to scam people, including business leaders.
We are living in an age of misinformation and disinformation and deep fakes, and these are deep harms. So these are legitimate concerns about it.
Criminals are using AI-generated voice messages and text to impersonate senior officials and prominent public figures to swipe money and information.
One instance, a fraudulent signal message was appearing to come from a U.S. official and requested a large transfer of money under the guise of a tariff-related emergency.
I'll have you know I graduated top of my class in the Navy SEALs.
For a couple of years, Prince Harry or anyone else could have their voice essentially stolen and cloned, but to do it is now easier than ever. So experts say be wary of a call from someone claiming to be a high-ranking government official or someone you trust demanding urgent action. Be skeptical, especially if those requests are about money. Try to verify the person's identity independently and don't click on suspicious links.
And while it used to be fake video and audio had flaws making them easy to spot, they said that's now often no longer the case. John Venivelli-Rao, CTV News, Toronto.
Coming up.
Within a year, I had like 3 phones stolen from me.
Where pickpocketers are swarming summer crowds and how to protect yourself. Plus, the A-listers arriving in Venice for a billionaire's wedding bash. An urgent call tonight to watch your pockets with crowded summer festivals, perfect hunting grounds for pickpocketers. Here's CTV's John Woodward on how to outsmart the thieves.
Within a year, I had like 3 phones stolen from him.
An unlucky year for Anif Williams, whose cell phones and him are quickly parted.
It's ridiculous, man. It's not cool.
His phones were mostly taken when he was distracted on the subway, but police are pointing to the upcoming Pride Festival this weekend as a place where the exciting things to see turn into an opportunity for thieves.
We saw a significant uptick, particularly last year in Pride. Up over 300 cell phones were stolen.
Pickpocketed from people who were distracted or trusting, like Mihail Adler's family. They put a phone down for a moment at Mel Lastman Square recently.
It's a big phone, and literally moments later it was gone.
His screenshots show the phone taking a trip first to 2 addresses in North York and then an address he didn't expect.
And then about 4 days ago, it pinged that it was in Vietnam.
Among many phones traded internationally, one way to escape the remote resets customers can put on them.
So a lot of phones that would not function here in North America will function just fine on a different continent.
Security expert Claudio Popa says thieves try to take a phone while it's unlocked to sell it for more, but if not...
Cell phones can also be taken apart to their core components, and they are worth a lot of money because screens, batteries, cameras, and chips have a ton of value.
And then there's what's on your phone. A Fox station in Minneapolis showed how thieves used bank apps on stolen phones to drain hundreds of thousands of dollars. Similar organizations expected to be operating here.
I will be surprised if they don't. What we're asking people is even to keep things tight, close to their body, in bags in front of them, in pockets. Just be aware and be mindful.
Advice Williams is now following.
I'm more responsible.
He hopes people this weekend will do the same. John Woodward, CTV News.
Billionaire businessman Frank Stronach will face a judge but not a jury when he stands trial in his sexual assault case in Toronto next year. The lawyer also confirmed the 92-year-old pleaded not guilty to the charges he faces in Toronto. Stronach founded auto parts giant Magna and is charged with 18 counts of sexual assault and indecent assault in total, some which date back decades, involving 13 complainants. Prosecutors spent 5 hours making closing arguments in the sex trafficking trial of Sean Diddy Combs today.
I'm guessing this is going to take at least 3 or 4 days. It's not going to be a quick verdict, I don't think.
Prosecutors called him the leader of a criminal enterprise, arguing that Combs' conduct amounted to sex trafficking because he used force, fraud, and threats to compel former girlfriends to participate in sex acts, sometimes with male escorts who were paid. Combs has pleaded not guilty. Tomorrow, the defense presents its closing arguments, and the jury could begin deliberating as soon as tomorrow afternoon. A who's who of A-listers continue to arrive in Venice for Amazon billionaire Jeff Bezos' wedding with Lauren Sanchez. Today's celebrities included Kim Kardashian, Usher, Bill Gates, and Tom Brady, joining the likes of Oprah Winfrey, Kylie Jenner, and the Queen of Jordan. 3 days of lavish wedding festivities have begun, with over 200 high-profile guests expected at a cost of up to $80 million. However, not all locals are celebrating, protesting so-called over-tourism in their city. The editor-in-chief of one of the most influential magazines is stepping down from American Vogue after nearly 4 decades at the helm. Anna Wintour will continue her role as global editorial director for Vogue and chief content officer for the company that publishes the magazine, often referred to as the Fashion Bible. Still ahead, the meaningful purpose behind a royal return to Prince Edward Island. A big welcome on Prince Edward Island for the Prince himself. The Duke of Edinburgh is in Canada's smallest province, marking a military milestone and helping mend old wounds. Here is the newest member of our CTV News team, Maria Saru.
Flanked by members of the Mi'kmaq community, Prince Edward stepped onto the cultural grounds at Abiguit First Nation, ready to listen and learn.
It's education through conversation, education through awareness, and it's also education through responsibility.
With a lighthearted warning from the chief,
"Don't mess this up, you make me look bad."
The Duke of Edinburgh took his place in the drum circle for the Mi'kmaq honor song. He also went inside a sweat lodge and spent time talking to families, learning a little about each person he shook hands with.
Jason, nice to meet you.
I think that the royal visit here shows the people in the community that you are a productive part of society, recognized by someone as prestigious as the Duke.
Meeting with Indigenous communities is one of the Prince's priorities for the tour, but it's the military that brought him here in his role as Colonel-in-Chief of the PEI Regiment, which is celebrating 150 years of service. The royal visit has been a long time in the making.
It's a mix of nervousness and excitement. It's an opportunity for our newer soldiers to meet our Colonel-in-Chief for the first time, and those of us in the old guard, quote-unquote old guard, get a chance to see him again.
Lieutenant Colonel Christopher Michaud says he first met Prince Edward as a young captain 10 years ago. Today, he's leading the regiment.
It's actually fairly personal being able to do that this time around, so just a huge honor and a privilege.
While the Duke's role is honorary, Michaud says it maintains meaningful ties to the monarchy, as Indigenous communities continue to invite the Crown to share space, stories, and song. Maria Saru, CTV News, Abeguit.
Still ahead, hoop dreams come true for a rising Canadian star. Kitchener, Ontario's Will Riley was picked in the first round of the NBA draft in front of dozens of family and friends. Here's CTV's Karis Mapp on Canada's recent stretch of strong showings.
With the 21st pick in the 2025 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz select Will Riley from Kitchener, Canada.
A dream come true for a local boy from Waterloo Region. Surrounded by friends and family, 19-year-old Will Riley became the first of two Canadians drafted into the NBA Wednesday night.
The whole experience at the table, it was a little nerve-wracking, but Will was handled himself well and kind of kept the whole table calm.
Drafted by Utah, now repping Washington's blue and red following a quick trade to the Wizards. Starting at Preston High School in Cambridge and Kitchener's Grand River Collegiate, the 6'8" forward traveled to the U.S. for his final 2 years of high school.
We went up to New York and obviously celebrated with Will and his family and his friends. I don't know if I was nervous. I think it was just nervous excitement because it's you know it's going to happen, right? You just don't know when it's going to happen, which I think is the excitement of the draft.
The excitement short-lived, with the real work only just beginning.
We're currently in a Sprinter van. We're just landed in Washington. We just met the head coach. We're about to go meet the rest of the organization. Give a little wave to CTV Kitchener.
A superstar talent long in the making. Playing in the NCAA for the 2025 season with the University of Illinois, Riley averaged 12.6 points over 35 games.
He had a goal and he had a dream, and he was able to realize that last night, which a lot of kids can't do.
He's getting 1,500 to 2,000 shots a day. The kid's relentless when it comes to this sport.
One of many athletes putting Canada on the map. This year's MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, helping bring Oklahoma City their first championship title. Denver Nuggets' Jamal Murray, also an NBA champion from Kitchener.
It's obviously grown in popularity, and then with that, the proximity to the U.S. makes it a lot easier for a lot of these players and athletes who show a lot of potential here in Canada.
But for now, Riley ready to make an impact with his hometown team cheering him on. Karis Mapp, CTV News, Kitchener.
Definitely one to watch. That's a snapshot of this Thursday. Heather is here tomorrow. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching and good night.